Hello everyone, and welcome to the Willow Cove Crafts Knitting and Sewing channel, where I post knitting and sewing tutorials as well as regular updates on my own personal knitting and sewing projects. My name is Emily, and you can find me on both Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. As always, please leave this video a like or comment, and remember to hit the subscribe button if you want to be notified when I post future videos. Today is Sunday, May 1st, and it has been about a month since I put an episode out, and that was intentional. I did want to start off today by talking about some changes to the channel and the types of content I am putting out. I am calling this video my April 2022 makes because it's everything I worked on in the month of April, and this is something that I think I'm going to continue posting kind of a traditional podcast episode only once a month. So my plan is to record the first Sunday of the month for the previous month. So again, today is May 1st. It's the first Sunday of May, and I am talking about everything I worked on in April. I don't plan on just posting videos once a month though. There will be more, at least I'm hoping. Along with my monthly kind of recap video, I do wanna post specific finished object videos. So whenever I finish a project, I want to do a really in-depth look at that project and make a video solely dedicated to that project. So I'm hoping, I tend to finish something at least every month. So I'm hoping you will also get that sort of video at least once a month. And then for all of the weeks in between, I really want to start filming some knitting and sewing tutorials. And you may have noticed my first one of these went up last Sunday. I did a tutorial about making slip knots, which is very basic. However, I figured that was a great place to start when you're talking about the vast world of knitting. So yeah, I am still planning on posting videos every week, but they will be a couple different flavors. That monthly recap video, finished object videos, and then tutorials in between. And I do hope to, over time, as I build my tutorial library, to get into some more intermediate and advanced techniques. Again, slip knots are very basic, but people need tutorials on how to do that sometimes. So I wanted to make sure I included it. So yes, hopefully you enjoy the new format. It's a little bit different than what I know a lot of other people do, but I had a really good think, and I've been wanting to do tutorials for a while, but kind of wondered how that would balance with the content I already put out, which I do still really enjoy and like doing. And yeah, I thought that this was maybe a really good balance to strike between those two things. So hopefully you enjoy. So like I mentioned, this is my April 2022 makes, everything I worked on in the month of April. I have no finished objects this month. And that is because in true fashion, I got 70% of the way done with my projects I've shown previously and then abandoned them for new whips. So yeah, pretty much everything I have to show you today is completely brand new. I haven't talked about it on the podcast before. And yeah, I'm gonna try really hard to finish them. I sound like a broken record, and I feel like I talk about this all the time, but I just really love casting on, and I get such a thrill from casting on new projects, and I don't get the same type of thrill when I finish a project. And so casting on for me is like the most exciting part about knitting. And so that leads to a lot of started projects and not a lot of finished projects. But I do also have this desire, obviously, to finish the things that I have started. And I don't know, I just have to figure it out. I just have to like really push through and finish my things. But anyways, all that to say, I have 2 brand new knitting projects to show you today. One quilt project, which I have shown you before, and then one additional sewing project that I have started this month. My first knitting work in progress today is probably what I have put the most work into over the last month. And I have posted quite a few pictures of this on Instagram, so you may know what I am about to talk about. I have started the half and half triangles wrap by Purl Soho. This is a pattern that I feel like has gotten really popular maybe over the last year or two. I know that there's been a ton of knit-alongs, just a ton of projects for this wrap. And I have really loved seeing everyone's projects and have wanted to start one of my own for a really long time. I actually bought yarn to make one of these like maybe close to a year ago at this point, 9 months to a year ago, and I just haven't cast on because I've been working on other things. And then I watched, so the person that like really turned me on to this project was Stacy of the Stress Knits podcast. She loves this pattern and has knitted, I think she's on her 5th one. And she has said that it is the project that she foresees herself always having on the needle. She just loves it, and she thinks it's, you know, just very like relaxing and that like perfect mindless project. So yeah, she, I believe, is working on her 5th half and half triangles wrap. And so that kind of got me thinking like, oh, maybe I could make multiple of them. So then I ended up buying more yarn to make half and half triangles wraps. And now I have yarn to make a ton of half and half triangles wraps. And then I thought to myself, I should probably actually make one before I keep buying yarn to make subsequent ones. So anyways, I decided to cast one on, and it has been absolutely lovely. At least for me, it lives up to the hype. It is just garter stitch, but something about it is just so relaxing. It's the perfect thing to work on while I'm on meetings for work. I've been working on it in the evenings because it's a great way to decompress after working. And yeah, my second knitting project, which I will show you in a minute, is a lot more complicated. And so it's really nice to have something on the go that is pretty mindless and, you know, meditative and relaxing. And I have really just loved working on it. So let me actually show you what I have done. Or let's start with the yarn. I am using the yarn that is called for in the pattern, which is Purl Soho's Linen Quill. And this is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. It's a fingering weight. And I really like this yarn. I feel like this yarn got really popular with that half and half triangles wrap pattern. But I'm gonna sound like a hipster right now, but I liked this yarn before it was cool. I purchased this yarn quite a few years ago. Dan and I went to New York City, and I got the opportunity to actually visit Purl Soho in person. This was before the pandemic. And I got some of this yarn to make a shawl because I really liked it, and I have not finished that shawl. Someday. But anyways, I have always really liked this yarn. It is a bit, a little bit more toothy So if you're really sensitive to rustic yarns, it might not be the yarn for you. However, I, as I've said many times, love more rustic yarns, and I think this one, as far as rustic is concerned, is pretty soft. And because it has that linen and alpaca in it, it just has a really nice drape, more so than, you know, a 100% wool would, and I really love it. So anyways, this is the honey pink colorway, and it is labeled as a pink, but I do think it's more of a light yellow, kind of a straw colorway or color. If you look closely, it does have like little variations of pink in it, but I do think it reads more yellow. So something to keep in mind if you're interested in this color. I don't actually think it is pink. So let me show you, this is my first color. Let me talk about the pattern and show you my progress. I never show my project bags. I'll start today. I am keeping this in this really cute project bag. The tag on the inside says Aubrey and Sewing Company. I had a look a couple weeks ago, and I don't think this person is making bags anymore. But I did buy this off of Etsy. This is a Rifle Paper Company fabric. I'm obsessed with Rifle Paper Company, so that's how I know that. But yeah, this nice big bag, it's got a handle, and I am keeping my half and half triangles wrap in here. So, let me hold this up for you. It's very, very big. So the half and half triangles wrap calls for 2 colors, 3 skeins each. That's 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn. So you can imagine 6 skeins of fingering weight yarn produces a very big wrap. And here's mine so far. And this is a free pattern, so I'm going to talk a bit about the construction, and I can do that because it's free and I'm not giving anything away. So the pattern comes in 2 sizes. I think they call it big and bigger. I am making the bigger size, and so you cast on 260 stitches, I believe. And then again, it's just all garter stitch. And you go and knit and you wrap every stitch. So you're basically using short rows, and you can see this is my one side. You are using short rows and you're wrapping every stitch as you knit down to the next wrap, and then wrap your stitch, knit back, knit down to that wrap, wrap your stitch. And what you're essentially doing is creating a big right triangle. And, this is so hard to show. I need 3 arms. But yeah, here's kind of my straight stitches, and then here's my marker where I'm marking my next wrap and turn. And then you can see all of the wrap and turns I've done so far are creating a 45-degree angle. So yes, you make one big giant right triangle with one color, and then you have a second color where you essentially do the same and you make a second right triangle that comes together to make a square. This is a really popular pattern, so I'm sure you've seen it before, or like maybe you've seen it before. If you haven't, it's pretty easy to find an image of it. But yeah, it's basically a big square cut on the diagonal with one of those triangles being one color and then the other triangle being a second color. So yes, I am currently on my second of 3 skeins of the honey pink colorway. And I have heard people say you don't end up using all 3, maybe closer to 2.5. But yes, I counted the other day and I think I have wrapped, your rows get shorter on the first triangle and then they get longer on the second triangle. But I've wrapped I think about 80 stitches so far, maybe getting close to 90. So yeah, I probably have about, what does that calculate out to? Maybe like 170, 175 stitches left to wrap. And like I said, there's just something about getting to the next wrap stitch that makes this a little bit more interesting and exciting than just a plain garter stitch project. So yeah, I highly recommend giving it a try if you are looking for a new kind of mindless knitting project. It's a big project, it's gonna take a while to finish, but I am enjoying it immensely. My second color that I plan to use is Turmeric Yellow, also in the linen quill. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a kind of an orangey undertoned, spicy yellow. And let me show those two to you together. And I loved this combination, especially this time of year. We're getting into the summer months, and so I wanted something kind of bright and happy, and I thought this just reminded me of like, it almost reminds me of like an illustration of a sunburst. Like I'm thinking of like, you know, some of those like 70s type illustrations with like the retro like yellows and there's a sunburst. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Anyways, that's what this reminded me of. And yes, I love it. I do think I will get through the first triangle pretty easily because the rows are getting shorter. The second triangle with the yellow might be a bit of a slog because your rows get longer on the second triangle. So you start at the narrowest point and then you get longer and longer as you finish out your square. So we shall see. So again, that is the half and half triangles wrap. It's a free pattern by Purl Soho. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And the fabric is just, again, so lovely and drapey, and I am excited to have this to wear next fall. My next work in progress is in my Plystra, I think this is just called their project bag. They have a project bag and a project backpack. And I think this is the bag. It's clearly not a backpack, so it must be. And in here, I have a new sweater cast on. I really wanted to knit cables. I was just craving kind of a more complex, big, squishy cabled sweater. So I decided to cast one on, and it has been a nice, you know, I've got my really simple project with half and half triangles wrap, and then this one is more of a challenge. And I really like that juxtaposition. I have been knitting mostly monogamously the last few months, but I do like a little bit of variety. And so I think I might keep this up, having a more complicated project and then having a more simple project. So this is definitely my complicated project. This is what I have so far. This is the, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Fisherquine. I'll put it on the screen. The Fisherquine jumper by, I don't remember her middle initial. It's Christina MacKenzie. I want to say her middle initial is J. Again, I'll put it on the screen. Christina MacKenzie is the designer of this pattern, and it is a top-down raglan shaping with lots of thick, juicy cables that I love doing. Just giving you a nice little close-up. And then I really like the sleeves have this like kind of vertical striping happening with the cables alongside of it. I think it looks really great. anyways, I'm maybe about halfway done with the yoke. And yeah, as with any other raglan sweater, I'll finish the raglans and then kind of cinch off the 2 sleeves before working on the body. Yes, the yarn I am using for this, I got the idea, so it is an Aran weight project, and I first heard about this pattern from the RO Knits and Purls podcast, which is really great. You should go check her out as well. I'm gonna pause for a second. They are vacuuming in the hallway and it's going to get really, really loud. Okay, I think the vacuum cleaner has stopped. So I believe I was talking about the inspiration behind this sweater. So again, I first saw this sweater on the RO Knits and Purls podcast, and I really like RO's podcast because she does a lot of test knitting. I think she almost exclusively does test knitting, and she does so for a lot of, I think, lesser known designers. And so I really like her podcast. She knits beautiful things, but also I feel like I get exposed to patterns that I might not necessarily have come across because they're not by as well-known designers. You know, Ravelry is a search engine like anything else, and I feel like we're exposed to maybe some of the more popular things, and it's nice to hear about lesser known designers because they make beautiful things as well. So anyways, RO test knit this pattern and I loved it immediately. And something she did that I thought was really cool was she held it with a mohair. And her finished sweater was just this like fluffy, beautiful thing. And I needed it. So I decided to copy. Her sweater is pink. I chose white because I love white. But I use similar yarns to her to get a similar effect, and I'm really excited to have this sweater in my wardrobe. But anyways, I am using the Biches Le Gros Lambswool, which is an Aran weight yarn. This is the off-white colorway, very aptly named. And this is a 100% lambswool made in the UK. And I am pairing that with, let me find a ball for you, Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair. This is probably my favorite mohair out there. So I feel like I've been using it a lot lately. But anyways, yes, Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair, also in the off-white colorway. And yes, I'm just getting this beautiful, fluffy, white, cabled fabric. Yes. You do short rows, so you'll notice this is the back, this is the front. That front center panel is a little bit shorter in the front. And yeah, so kind of the main cable is this honeycomb texture. And then off to the sides and on the sleeves, there's gonna be, we've got these like kind of skinny cables, and then there's gonna be this big, to me, this is kind of like the showstopper cable of the whole thing. It's a big, big cable. Something that is bothering me about this, and I say bother because it's not, I think it's all in my head. The neckline seems really big. And I try on this sweater every few days because I look at the neckline and I think, wow, it looks really big. And then I put it on and I'm like, it's fine. It's maybe a little bit bigger than a lot of sweaters I've knit in the past, but it doesn't fit weird. But yeah, looking at it, that neckline just looks huge. It is more of a like boat neck sweater, and I have looked at a lot of pictures of it, and that is kind of the intended fit, I think. We'll see. I do worry with like such a wide neckline that it might stretch out over time. But there are ways to fix that. You can put elastic in the neckband. You can kind of do a reinforced crochet edge around your neckband to kind of cinch it in and keep it in place. Yeah, I just thought the neckline looked really big. So I would maybe suggest, if you are interested in knitting this pattern, maybe going down a needle size or two from what is recommended in the pattern to just get a slightly tighter neckline. If I were to knit this again, I would probably go down, I mean, you go down a needle size for the ribbing anyways, but I would go down even more. Because yeah, it just looks big. Again, it's fitting fine. I just find myself looking at the neckline and wondering if it's gonna fall off my shoulders at some point in the future. But other than that, if that's like really even a thing, like I said, it's fitting perfectly. I really am enjoying working on this. The thick yarn does tend to hurt my hands, especially when you're cabling with it, so I can really only work on this for so much time before I need to switch it up. But yes, I am loving this, and I'm going to finish it. I am committing to that in front of all of you, the whole internet. I'm gonna finish this sweater and have it for the fall. It is supposed to be more of an oversized sweater, so it is, I think, looking pretty big, or when I try it on, it looks a little big, but I think that is the style. I am knitting the size F. The pattern doesn't have numbered sizes, it's letter sizes. And something really cool that I wanted to call out. This is maybe the most like detailed knitting pattern I've ever done. She actually has a separate, she being Christina, the designer, has a separate PDF for every size. And so I really have liked that. I recognize that that's a ton of work. Because I'm not like kind of scanning the pattern and like picking out my numbers for my size, because that one PDF is for my size. And so all of the numbers are just there. She's got these like really interesting charts and schematics, and it's a very thorough, very clear pattern. And yes, I am absolutely loving it. There's also two different sleeve options. More of a straight sleeve and more of a balloon sleeve. I'm gonna do the balloon sleeve. Again, Aro did that on her sweater, and I think it just added to the like etherealness of the finished garment. I really, really liked it. So I'm gonna do the little puff sleeve, and yes, love this one. Super excited. To have just like a classic white cabled sweater. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say. I don't think so. Fisherquine sweater. Go knit it. Next up, I'm going to move into my sewing works in progress. The first one I have shown before, I believe. I think I've shown this on my last few episodes. I've been working on it for a little while, but I am making the La La Fancy quilt by Southern Charm Quilts, and there is a picture of a couple versions, and you'll see it's got these stars that, you know, kind of have uneven points, and then these center diamonds. Here's a schematic that might show that a little bit better. So I have been working on this a little bit over the last month. I haven't been able to sew as much as I would like over the last couple weeks because I have injured my back. Nothing serious. I haven't gone to the doctor because if you've been following for a while, you'll know I've had a lot going on medically the last 6 months, and I am like just so tired of going to the doctor. So I hurt my back and was like, I'm just gonna wait it out and see if it gets better. And I do think it is getting better, but I do think like I maybe herniated a disc or something. Anyways, sitting at the sewing machine has not been easy. So I have managed to get a little bit of sewing done, but not nearly as much as I would prefer. But yes, since last time, I think last time I was working on my corner units, which I have since finished. So yes, these units kind of meet at the corners to make a diamond shape, and they're all different. I'm doing a horrible job of showing these to you. Let me just pick a few random ones. The fabric I am using, I bought a kit from, so Southern Charm Quilts, I've said this before, but Southern Charm Quilts is owned by a woman named Melanie Traylor, and then she also owns Meander and Make, which is the fabric side of her business. So Southern Charm Quilts are her patterns, and then Meander and Make is her fabric shop. So I bought a kit from her fabric shop, Meander and Make, to make this like beautiful, like peachy, pinky version of the La La Fancy Quilt. So anyways, I finished my corner units. And then I also finished all of my half rectangle triangles. You'll see rectangle, cut down the middle to make 2 triangles. These are half of my star points. So you'll see I have a nice big stack of these. I'll show you a few. I am glad that this part of the quilt is done. Making half rectangle triangles is not my favorite part of quilting. I do think I'm getting better at it, so it's becoming less of a pain, but I find them a little bit fiddly because, you know, you have to sew them, and you sew them a little bit bigger than they are supposed to be, and then you trim them. And so, you know, I've got, what is 16 times 4? 16 times 4. I used to be really good at mental math when I was a math teacher, and now I've lost that skill. 16 times 4 is 64. Yes, 64. So I have 64 of these, and then I had to trim each one individually. I have a special ruler that helps, but it's still a bit of a pain. So anyways, those are all done, and I have started and have not finished my other star points, which are a snowballed rectangle. So you'll see my stack is quite a bit smaller on these. I'll also have 64 of these, but those are still in progress. So yes, chugging away at that. Quilts, I think, are always kind of bigger long-term projects, especially when quilting is not your main hobby like myself. You know, knitting is, I think, clearly the thing I spend the most amount of time with, but I do like to work on it a little bit every week. Do some sewing. I find when I don't have anything on the go for sewing, I miss it a lot. But the quilt has had to go on the back burner a little bit because of my next project, which I will show you now. My last sewing work in progress is new, and it is on a bit of a deadline, which is why I have been working on this instead of my quilt. I have 2 weddings to go to, one at the end of May and one in the middle of June. And I have, over the last year or so, really enjoyed making my kind of special event outfits. I've sewn several dresses for like any kind of big major event that I've had to go to in the last year or so since I started garment sewing. So obviously I wanted to make a dress for each of the 2 weddings that I have to go to this summer. And I wanted to make 2 dresses because it is the same group of friends. So I didn't want to wear the same thing to the 2 weddings because it would be all of the same people there. Other people might have a different strategy, but I don't. If it were like 2 weddings, like one with my family and then one with my friends, I might have just made one dress and worn it to both, but because it is the same group, I wanted 2 different dresses. So anyways, I have started the first dress. I've kind of started. If you are familiar with garment sewing, you'll know that there's a lot of preparation that goes into making, any sort of sewing project. So I've been kind of planning and preparing. I haven't actually like started the dress itself, but I am just about to. So I am, for my first dress, making the Magnolia dress by Deer and Doe. And because this is for a late spring or early summer wedding, I am making the second version, which is shorter and has these flutter sleeves. It's also got less of an extreme neckline. You'll notice the neckline on that first version is quite a bit deeper. I would feel more comfortable with less of a plunging neckline. And yes, I thought, the flutter sleeves was really nice for that time of year. I thought it looked really light and pretty. And yes. So I have made a muslin. I did kind of a practice run of the bodice just to check for fit. I have to lengthen it, which is something that I have to do for most sewing patterns. I've said this 100 times, but I'm pretty tall, and so I often need a little bit more space vertically. And yes, I've tested the bodice. I think it's going to work. I always get a little nervous that it's not going to fit how my practice run did. And I have since been like tracing and cutting out my fabric pieces. And then hopefully this afternoon, I will actually start cutting out the real fabric for my dress, which I have here to show you. This is the fabric I'm using. It is a beautiful, I don't know if all these terms are interchangeable. I think it was labeled as a viscose, also known as rayon or rayon challis. And it's this really pretty black floral. It's very drapey. And I purchased this from shop Mercerie in France. The whole website is in French, which is why I think this is viscose, but I'm not sure because I don't speak fluent French. Anyways, I'm a little nervous about this dress because I have never sewn with viscose before. In case you're unfamiliar, viscose is very, it's folded up right now, but it's very like drapey and slippery, and that can make it hard to work with because, you're trying to sew two pieces of fabric together and they kind of slip around a little bit. So I've been doing a lot of research on how to best work with viscose, and yes, I think I have done all of the preparation I can do, and it is time to just bite the bullet and start making this dress. Yeah, basically what I've read is use a lot of pins and go slowly, which I can do. And yes, I plan on fully French seaming this dress. viscose can fray a lot, and so you definitely want to finish off your seams in a way that kind of tucks them away and hides them. And then also I'll be installing my very first zipper with this dress, which is not something I have ever done before and have avoided, but I'm gonna give it a try. So there's, essentially like I'm sewing with a fabric I've never sewn before. That's, maybe a bit more challenging. I'm trying some techniques that I've never done before, and all of that has made me a bit nervous to actually like get going on this dress, but I have 4 weeks until the wedding, so I definitely want to get going on this. And then I have another dress I have to make after that. So on a bit of a time crunch. Something to call out real quick. So Deer and Doe sells, so this is like the actual pattern, like physical pattern. They also sell their patterns in PDFs. I bought the physical pattern because I thought it would be nice to have. Before I realized that, so Deer and Doe used to have quite a limited size range. I personally think they still kind of do. So the biggest size in the printed patterns is recommended for a 41-inch bust, which I think is quite small. I am not a 41-inch bust, so I bought this and didn't realize. So, they used to just, go up through a 41-inch. And then I think in the last few years, they've extended their size range. But that extended size range is only available in their PDFs. So I bought this thinking it would be fun to have the pattern, and then read it a little more closely and realized, oh, like my size isn't in here. I have to buy the PDF to get my size. I have a 45-inch bust. So yeah, I don't fit into this. And I am actually the biggest size in their extended sizes, which I think, I'm not a small person, but I'm not, I think, I'm not the biggest person. And so I think the fact that I am the biggest size is a little disappointing. So maybe they will continue working on extending their sizes even further. I think that would be nice. Yeah, I feel like me should not be the biggest size out there for a size inclusive pattern, if that makes sense. So yes, I am making the largest size that they offer, and it is only available in the PDF. So if you are larger than a 41-inch bust, maybe don't buy this, get the PDF. So yes, I've finished assembling my pattern because I had to get the PDF. I was hoping to avoid that by buying this. And yeah, I'm tracing out my things, and hopefully this afternoon after I edit the podcast and it is uploading, I might start doing the scary bit of cutting into my pretty French fabric. More to come. And that is it for all of the crafty content today. I thought I would close out with a few life updates, or, just what I've been up to the last month. Not much. Like I mentioned, about 3 weeks ago, I hurt my back. There wasn't like an event that did it. I mean, I think it was from, I've been trying to start weightlifting again, and I think I just like have bad form and am maybe a little overzealous with the weights I pick. And, I went and did a workout, and then over the course of the rest of the day, my back started really hurting. And then that was about 3 weeks ago. And since then, I will feel like I'm getting better, and then I'll like move a certain way and I can like feel it like get worse again, which is why I think it's like maybe a disc. I don't know. I should go to the doctor, but like I said, I am being a little stubborn and crotchety about it. So anyways, yeah, about 3 weeks ago, I hurt my back, and it's kind of coming and going. Like, it will feel better and then it will feel worse. And so I'm trying, it's starting to feel better again. And so I'm trying to be really careful and not like overexert myself too much. Because yes, I am tired of having a hurt back. Those of you that have had back problems will know it's kind of all consuming. Just trying to stay standing, stay laying down and reclining. I've been doing a lot of research about how to help with that. And yes, I am hopeful that with time it will just feel better. And then if it's not better in a few weeks, I will bite the bullet and go to the doctor, I promise. What else? It's tough when you only record once a month to remember what you have done. The weather here has not been great. We've had like pockets of nicer weather here in Wisconsin, but it has been a pretty like dreary, rainy spring so far. I'm hoping we're like on the way out and that summer weather is upon us soon. But yeah, it has been just like kind of crappy outside. So we've been staying in a lot. The other big news, and maybe, this is a good thing to ask all of you, poll the masses, is Dan and I have decided to go to France at the end of the summer. We are planning a trip to the south of France. So like Nice, Cannes, Monaco, that whole area. And we just decided this week that we were going to do this. We haven't bought flights yet. But yes, if you have been to the south of France and have any recommendations, we would love to hear them. We're going for 9 days, I believe. We're taking like a full week off of work and then bookending the weekends. And then it's also the second weekend is the Labor Day weekend. So we have kind of a long weekend because we'll be off of work on Monday as well. I hope that made sense. Anyways, 9 to 10 days is how long we are planning on visiting South France. So if you have been to Nice specifically, we would love to hear any recommendations you have. We're really excited, but obviously planning, it takes a lot of preparation, and neither of us have ever been to Europe, so this will be our first time going to Europe. And yes, we would love recommendations if any of you have them. So more to come on that, but yeah, I would love to hear from you all. So yeah, I think that is it for me this time around. Again, over the next few weeks, you'll see some tutorials get published. I'm hoping to finish up my Magnolia dress and make a finished object video about it. But yeah, we will speak again in about a month in this format. So have a great May, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye, everyone.